All right, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to Tying Tuesday from AvidMax. My name's Brady. Today we're tying an Andrew Gurlow's pattern. This is the laser pointer, a fun summertime dry fly. This is a nice green drake flavor of it. So go ahead and get one going. We're starting out with a nice classic dry fly hook, the Umpqua TMC 100. From Umpqua. It's a down eye hook, 1X fine, caters nicely to dry flies. It's got a pretty wide gape on it, which is nice as well. And then we're going to start out with some thread, just using some UTC 70 in black on this fly. And we'll just dress our hook real quick here. And go right into tying on the tail. The tail we're using, I've got some moose body hair today. Moose mane works great as well. Don't need a whole lot, just a nice tail similar to like a royal wolf, a humpy. Nice classic moose tail on this fly. Give that a stack. We can take that and measure out the length of our tail. We're going to do about that shank. You can see I have some broken tips in there, so I'll try to get those out. There we are. That's going to be a little bit nicer. So we'll secure that right on the top of the hook shank here. We're going to walk the thread back on it right about to that barb. And just make sure it's nice and fixed before you really snug on it. You want to get some locking wraps down on there. Otherwise it'll start to twist on you. You just want to avoid that. And then I'm going to come in and I use this in a couple ways. I use it to help build the underbody, but then I also use it as a measuring point. So I'm going to clip this where I want my thorax and abdomen to transition. And more than anything, just as a point of reference for myself as I'm tying this fly. So we'll wrap over the top of all of that, really bite into it on the way back. And we can go into our body of the fly, and I have some black foam here, just some 2mm foam that I cut into a pretty rough strip. If you want a nice clean strip, you can use paper cutters and things like that will help out. I tend to just do so with my scissors, and I'm going to make it about that size of the gape, so I might thin this down just slightly. There we are, that's a little bit better there. And then I'm going to trim it to a point as well, just to give it a little bit less bulk underneath the tied end. So just kind of a triangle point there, and we'll grab that and secure it down right on top and walk back to where our tail is there. We don't want to leave a gape between the tail and where that foam's going to be when I pull it forward. We'll make sure to account for that. Clean up the body a little bit here. We can grab that little piece and pull it down on in. Keep this transition smooth. And then we'll add in the underbody material. It's just some Flashabou, some pearl Flashabou here. Got a nice messy hank here, came out of the pack. Still works great. I only want 4 or 5 of these, really is all you need. Get rid of some of those shorter ones. I want to make sure I have all full length strands here to work with. And then we're going to tie that in right on the side here and walk back, and then we can start to wrap all of that forward, and we're going to do it in stages. So again, just starting right in the back here, making sure that you take your thread all the way back to that tail, so as we start to wrap there's no gape or gap in transition there, as little as possible anyways. With this pattern there is always a little bit of thread that's going to end up showing through, but you can minimize it a little bit. So we'll do 5 wraps forward with the thread, and then I like to get 1 wrap and I'll try to pull it back on itself a little bit, and then get 2 and 3 down, and then I'm going to come back with the thread and capture that off and leave everything hanging out. So I'll take the flash, put it in my material clip there, get it out of the way, and we can pull the foam forward, stretch it out just a little bit. We're going to come up and over it with 1. I might kind of look at where I'm at. I want to make sure that I can get 3 of these in here. So 1, 2, 3. That one's going to end up being a little bit big, so I might come back on it just a little bit more and bite down on it. Give it 1 extra securing wrap there, and then we can pull it back and go in front a couple times. And we're going to do that same thing where we walk forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring our flash forward, and this is where that gap opportunity exists, where that thread is. It's kind of inherent to this pattern, but again, if you kind of scoot your flash back and sort of try to accommodate for it, you can cover up most of it. We'll capture that once more. So just a little bit of thread showing through there, but kind of adds to the pattern, gives it a little bit of just dynamics, I guess, underneath, or a little bit of character. So again, throw the flash backward on the clip here, pull that over the top, kind of check your measurements, keeping it similar to your first segment there. Bite into it with a couple, back underneath, and then 5 forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And a little more flash. To get the process down, it's fairly simple. There's a little bit to this fly overall. Might give this one an extra wrap up front with the flash there as it transitions into the thorax. And then at this point we can trim that out. Pull the foam over 1 more time. And now we can kind of just grab it wherever, because we're going to walk over the top, and then you can always measure your segment out here sort of as you tie, just like so. But then as we work forward, we're just going to bind over all of the foam here and make a working area for the rest of the materials that are going to go into the thorax of this fly. Make that a little bit easier. We'll go ahead and trim this out of the way. I'm going to leave it a little long for now so I can come in and shape it toward the end. We're just going to make a nice thread base here to tie in what is going to be our next material. And I like doing the hackle at this point, just to get that in there and out of the way. So I got some nice Grizzly olive here, which is perfect for this green drake style laser pointer. This tends to be the color variation that I see most often out there on this fly. Tans are great as well. So I'm going to go ahead and prep my feather there, and then I'm going to tie it in right on top. I like to leave this just sort of flat on top here, and that'll be kind of out of the way, but then ready to go when we go to wrap it around the elk hair, which is what I'm going to tie in next. So I got just some natural elk. You could do bleached elk if you'd like, but a fairly healthy little bundle of this stuff, almost pencil diameter. I'm doing a size 10 today for the green drake style. Clear out some of that under fur. I have my comb with me today, so I'll do it with my hands as best I can. But a comb makes a big difference here. And then we want to stack that, of course. Same thing with the moose. You might check and see if you have any broken tips or anything like that, kind of within that bundle. That looks pretty good though. I think we're ready to go. So we're going to measure out to the back, I like to go just a little bit past the body, because then when we flare it up, it'll stand up nicely and fill out the fly nicely. So I like to give it a couple of loose wraps there, and then we'll go up third time and bite straight down, holding on to that material, getting that to flare out real nicely and lock down. And then before I let go of it, I like to just come in and trim this down a little bit, making sure that I don't trim out any of the actual wing, but just all this stuff that comes the head of sorts. Once you got it short, you can let go and clean it up a little bit. Just a nice little bundle of elk hair on top here. Almost as if there was an elk hair caddis sitting on top of this fly. And then from there, we're gonna add in the hot spot, the laser pointer, as I would think or imagine it to be, the ripple ice fiber that goes into this. Take out a small bundle of it, and then what I like to do is I'll just kind of twist it up a little bit in my hands to get a nice bound hank of it. Trim a tip there, and I'm gonna lay that in on top of the wing here, right about that same length of the elk hair. And we're going to grab it in the same manner that we did the elk hair, like so. A couple of wraps in on it, pull that front one out, make sure it's nice and snug. Then I'll trim this the same length as that elk hair. Now we got a dub underneath it all. This is one of the trickier parts. You could dub first and then wrap the elk hair, but you probably want to come back in and add a little more dubbing to finish it. Otherwise you'd have some exposed thread wraps coming through that underneath. So I always tend to do it at this point of the fly. It also helps prop up the wing once you have it tied in at this point. You'll kind of see what I mean. We'll be able to sort of post it with the dubbing. So I come up and under everything. I like to work from the back to the front, so getting a couple of wraps underneath there, making sure you're covering it all up, and then almost just X-wrapping from there to get everything nice and covered. Trying to avoid trapping as much of this elk hair as you can, although it's somewhat, again, inherent to this pattern, just sort of tricky to work around all that material. The benefit there is that you're going to end up with a really nice low riding dry fly. So great option in the right situations during those green drake hatches. So I'm just going to build up a bit underneath as best I can here, and then try to end my thread on the side where I'm going to kind of come back up and around it. So I want to be sort of on the back side there where I end this final wrap. We'll check out, make sure we got it pretty well covered. I might add one more bundle. That's some exposed business there. Hit that just right. We don't want to crowd our eye at the same time. Under, like so, and then like I said, I'm going to come up on this side and around. And just as if this elk wing were a parachute post, make a couple of quick wraps around it just to get my thread in the right zone and up underneath everything there. And that also gives us something to wrap our hackle around now. So we got a nice underbody there, and we got our nice foam, our wing. Let's tie in this hackle. Just gonna take it and wrap it around the post. I'm gonna do that a good number of times. I like a fairly good hackle on this. But again, let's try not to trap any of the elk hair. Just want to go around it all. Up and under. In front. 4 or 5 times. And I'm going to take that thread that I got waiting for it up underneath everything. Sort of grab it and snug it. Go up and under the feather that you're left there with there. Make sure you go over the top and underneath that guy as you're going around. Now you can come in and trim that out and do a nice vertical whip finish. Vertical? Yeah, vertical, something like that. So we're going to leave it just as it is here. Give myself plenty of thread to work with, and we're going to whip finish right around that post, just like you would on a parachute Adams. Get up and under it a few times. And make it nice and secure there. So there she is. That's our laser pointer. So a little more advanced tie for sure. There's a bit to it, a little bit going on, but makes for a really nice finished bug. We can come in and trim out our foam a little bit here. Don't trim your hackle, just the foam. Square that off. There she is. And we'll call it good. Nice laser pointer. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Definitely recommend giving it a tie. It takes a little more time, but a fun one and a pretty satisfying fly when it's all said and done there. And then you can take it out and fish it, of course. So give us a like if you enjoyed the video, share it with your friends, and check out the description for all the materials for this recipe. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.